So, welcome to the third session of the day, Tales from the Trenches, how the VMware Anywhere Workspace exceeds employee expectations. And we're actually going to present two use cases. Originally it were three, but we have 30 minutes to cover like two use cases, which we built for a customer. So we're going to talk through the customer, like what were their expectations, what did we build and why, and show a lot of demos. My name is Johan van Amersfoort, and I'm here with my colleague Jesper Alberts. We work at ITQ as consultants, and we build awesome stuff. So our customer is an organization that builds their own SaaS solution. They do that for over 100,000 users. They have a work from anywhere strategy. Which basically means that most of their developers don't actually live in the Netherlands. They live all across the world, and they still want to collaborate on building the same solutions from anywhere. Now they have a strict security requirement simply because they work with privacy-sensitive data. They consume the entire VMware Anywhere Workspace, but they consume it as a service that we as ITQ deliver. And we'll explain what that means and why they choose to do that. They are on a journey towards zero trust, and I'll explain why we think that's a journey and how that journey went. Now, one of the things that many people, or like many customers think when they think about the Anywhere Workspace is that it's a magic island. It's an awesome tropical island. And you actually need a journey to go there. So who's aware or who knows the digital workspace journey model? A couple of hands, awesome. Now that model basically is being used to pinpoint where a customer in his journey is, what steps to take, what challenges to overcome, like is your identity and access management solution old, or is the way you deploy applications old. Then we try to pinpoint that and define a journey and have an end goal, an outcome in mind. Now, this is what we did for this customer as well. So for this specific customer, they want to embark on their journey towards an Anywhere Workspace as well. And if you, like, as a customer and from our perspective as a consultancy firm, approach such a journey, you can imagine something like this. It's a project, right? So we have a start and we have an end, a finish. And the first step that we always do is run an assessment. We want to know everything there is to know about a specific customer, about the things they do, the applications they start, the users they have, the places they work from. Basically anything there is to know, we want to know that. Because we want to design something based on all facts there are. If we have designed, and well, please note, we're after the design is finished, 11 months in already, we have let's say a bill of materials that the customer could use to order stuff. And the procurement process starts, which can easily take 2 months, maybe more even. Now, after everything is procured, we have a license or a service or something else. We can download software. So we start the implementation, and after 6 months, we're done, right? The whole thing is implemented, the whole service is built, solution is built, and we can start migrating. Migration of everyone onto the platform can easily take a year, maybe longer. And this is like the best scenario, best case scenario, 12 months. But we've worked with a customer, or with different customers, where it easily could take like 2 years before everyone was migrated. So that's a challenge. Now, if we sell this to an average, like you, as maybe you work at a customer, you try to sell this to your boss. He was like, okay, 2.5 years. That sucks. Now what? Well, we thought that there was a better way, like Mike from Amazing Discoveries would sell you as well. And what we do, we think differently, is that we designed a service based on Workspace ONE, Carbon Black, and SASE. And basically the solutions that we include in that are, or the outcomes are day 0, day 1 onboarding, device enrollment, preferably zero touch, We enroll sensors and we manage vulnerabilities for customers, and we secure their edge networks and improve, well, network performance for everything. Now, this is the Anywhere Workspace, like solution from VMware. To a customer, if you look, and this is the same island that you saw in the first picture, the island above is what the customer sees, right? So that's the Anywhere Workspace. What they don't see is everything that happens out of water. And this is where most of our session will be about. Because we as a company have defined and designed all sorts of automations for them, all sorts of solutions that they can consume, like the entire day zero, day one onboarding, zero-touch provisioning is what we built for them. So the only thing that they have to do is consume that service. Now, we did that based on, again, the Anywhere Workspace. And one of the things that we already did up front or during the project is design a couple of things that we found were important. Fun fact is, during VMware Explore in the US, who saw the solution keynote of the where the North Star of VMware EUC was basically defined? They talked about the autonomous workspace. And what we'll explain in a bit is that we took the three main pillars of the autonomous workspace into this session as well and showcased what we thought was already possible from that perspective. So three completely different or different aspects of that are unify, automate, and finally come to the autonomous workspace. Now, well, we all know what architecture is, right? So look at such a slide. It's really, like, everything is awesome. Look, if you look at the Lego movie, the outcome that you could define by building such a platform is employee experience, is security, and is workspace automation. But we all know that it's like, to achieve that is still a challenge. Like, employee experience for everyone is different. And log on times of 5 seconds may sound really awesome and doable, but in fact, it's a challenge. Deploying thousands of applications to a virtual desktop is a challenge. So employee experience is a challenge to achieve as well. Now, what we do differently, I think, and most of our colleagues here in the audience from different, I would say from our competitors, but still they're like people from Fondo or from OBS, basically do the same, is we work based on results and outcomes. And what we are going to showcase in this session is a perfect developer UX and zero trust. So our colleague Age Roskam, who couldn't be here today, unfortunately, because he became a father a couple of days ago for the second time, he focused on the automated second day operations. If you want to check that out, there's a VMware Explore session about that. It has the same title, and there you can rewatch all of the demos, including those. Right, so, hand it over to you.
Cool. I'm not sure if I should be talking about security, as I just had a random guy plug in a USB drive and my colleague just clicking next, but hey, we'll give it a go. Cool. So, as Johan mentioned, I'll be talking about security, and I'll give it back to Johan in a couple of minutes regarding developer experience. My name is Jesper. We'll be talking about security or zero trust, give it a name. And let's face it, you hear it every day, right? It's in the news, a new hack, data leak, a new exploit in an application or a device that you're using. There's no way around it. And basically, everyone is talking about security. Everyone wants it, everyone needs it, and we kind of feel like being in line, waiting for the next Star Trek movie. But how can you improve security? And yes, that was a joke. How can you improve security without negatively affecting the employee experience? Is that even possible? Well, we believe you can, and that's what we'd like to show during the next couple of slides. As Johan mentioned, we have a customer, and that customer is great at what they do. They build a SaaS application which is widely used, but during the past couple of years, they kind of neglected their security posture. So what does that mean? They still use perimeter-based firewalling, legacy antivirus solutions, and kind of put their hand in the sand if they can, like an ostrich, just to avoid problems. If you can't see it or can't hear it, it's not there. So during the engagement, we had several conversations with our customer, And we kind of focused on the why. As Johan mentioned, we do an assessment. And it kind of became clear that they were facing a couple of issues. And the primary one was they were facing compliance issues. They were being audited quarterly, kind of making it, kind of not making it. And in the end, they risked of being fined, which is a problem once, but if you do it a couple of times, it really becomes an issue. Next to that, during COVID, they did really great, keeping everyone busy, making sure they could still work, but now that everything's kind of coming back to normal, they had an issue. They had all these employees, all these endpoints, but they weren't managing them. They weren't in control. And same goes for their applications. They're using on-prem applications, SaaS, mobile. They're everywhere, but they're not in control. So how can VMware help in that regard? Well, for one, they have a lot of products. And this slide is a bit older. I'll give you a QR link in a couple of minutes so that you can look up a more recent version. But what they did is they had all these different solutions and they put them in pillars, right? They focus on users or identity, devices, the networking part. And if you look closely, you see carbon black in the device column, but also in the application column. And there's some solutions missing, right? It's outdated. Mobile threat defense among them isn't on it. But this kind of already shows, and I'll put up the QR code so that you can scan it. But what you see is there are a lot of solutions, right? It's not a single solution that you buy, and even if you bring a big bag of money, it won't solve your issue. The end result won't be zero trust. It's a mindset, it's a state that you need to achieve with your organization, and buying these products helps, but it's not the end goal, at least not for me. So how do we do that from an ITQ perspective? Those that know us, we like orange, so we don't call them our golden rules, but we call them our orange rules. And we start with the low-hanging fruit, right? Start with implementing something that takes away pain instantly, like removing the amount of passwords, or implementing something in read-only mode, right? You get data and insights instantly without being without intruding with the current day in operations. Next up, doing it one step at a time, right? You can buy all those solutions that I just showed, but again, that won't solve your issue. Just focus on implementing one solution and doing it right. Don't do it for 50% or 60% because in the end, you won't get the results that you need. Do it one step at a time and make sure you do it right. The onion, work in layers, right? Zero trust. Never trust anything or never assume anything. Always verify. Don't focus on a single solution. Make sure you have a backup behind it because if one solution fails for whatever reason, you don't want to have a massive hole in your organization which exposes a threat. And last but not least, focus on the balance. It's not about security. It's not about employee experience. It's about both and keeping them in balance. Because otherwise, you probably end up with a lot of shadow IT again. And we tried to battle that a couple of years ago, and we're still cleaning up the pieces. So if you think about the balance, and in this case, an unbalanced situation, now this is a flow that a user has for signing into a virtual desktop. So you start off with going to a portal, signing in, username, password, doing an MFA prompt, cool. Then you need to install a piece of software which runs a compliance check. If you do that for the first time, you need to install it, but then it takes 30 to 60 seconds. And if you're lucky, it just says, hey, we couldn't verify it, but hey, go ahead, move along. Nothing to see here. Then, if you click a tile for the VDI desktop, you need to install a VPN for the first time. If not, it'll start automatically. And then you need to sign in again. Username, password. Now you think we're getting near the finish line, but let's sign in again. Username, password. And note, that is the same account being used 3 times in a row. Single sign-on, anyone? Then you click on the virtual desktop icon, and if you don't want any errors or warnings going on, you need to install a certificate manually. And then you think, it's time to enjoy my virtual desktop? Yeah, but it'll take 3 to 4 minutes before it is actually signed in, so not how we like to do things. So demo time. If you take Carbon Black and SASE, and when you look at the onion that I showed earlier, right? You have the people living in the castle, your data. You have the castle, which is Carbon Black in this case, and you have the moat, the water around it, or slotgracht for the Nederlanders, acting as SASE. So what we'll see is we'll see an employee trying to download a file. Initially, SASE stops it, right, the moat. The user finds a way to circumvent that, gets the file on the endpoint, Carbon Black takes over. So, right, we see an email from a supposed manager saying, hey, you need to hurry up, install this, because otherwise you're not going to be around for much longer. So to prevent any issues with email scanning, it's being put in a memo. User clicks the file or the link, and the traffic is being blocked before it even hits the endpoint, right? It's being blocked somewhere in the cloud, aka someone else's computer. But in this case, our employee is smart, tries a different method, and actually gets the file on the desktop. And no, this is not today's news, so I'm not really predicting the future here. And as you can see in the top right, over in the bottom right, we see Carbon Black blocking the file and saying, hey, this wasn't good. So demo number 2, mobile threat defense. Employee installs a malicious app on an endpoint. Mobile threat defense detects it as a threat. As a result, corporate apps are removed. The employee is notified, remediates it because he gets instructions, and actually access is being restored to those resources again. And there we go. So we see the iOS device, just a showcase of the different corporate resources that are present. We see the same email and the same memo, which also included instructions for an iOS device. And for some magic reason, we end up in a fake app store, which kind of looks like the real one, but hey, it isn't. I think our user didn't really get much coffee that day. And you already see the notification on top, right? Hey, something fishy is going on. We removed corporate access. Please check the Intelligent Hub to make sure what is going on and fix this. And here you see the notification from Mobile Threat Defense. In the bottom, the suggested action is to uninstall the app. If you do that, we'll make sure you get back in and start ready to work. So for the sake of time, I'll just skip the last part, but basically, we removed the app, access is being restored, corporate apps are being pushed again. So, seeing as this is a tech conference, how does this actually work? We rely on the integration between UEM and Mobile Threat Defense, and what that does is it applies a tag to a device. If it's healthy, you get a healthy tag. If it's unhealthy or low risk, you get a different tag. We use those tags to populate smart groups, and with those smart groups, we deploy resources, profiles, apps, you name it. Now, if a threat comes by, and unfortunately it does, we do a couple of things. We remove the tag, and we actually send out the notification that you saw earlier. We restrict access to corporate resources because that tag is being removed, so we're no longer a part of the smart group. User remediates it, and we're back at square one until something fishy happens again. Demo number 3, a bit similar. Carbon Black is being removed from the endpoint. As a result, access is being removed, and underwater, a reinstallation of Carbon Black is initiated, and in the meantime, access to resources will be restored. So in this case, Google Chrome is one of the corporate resources, and we saw on the bottom right that Carbon Black is present, and we see it in the start menu as well as Workspace 1, which is one of the corporate resources in this case. So we already see Windows notifying us that, hey, something is going on. We see that Carbon Black is no longer present in the bottom, and hey, we get a notification. Something is going on. Don't worry, we got this, but in the meantime, sit back, relax, we'll fix this. So you see the removal of all the different resources. Which takes a bit of time. And then in a couple of seconds, we'll see a new notification saying, hey, we're installing Carbon Black. And after that, we get the hooray, everything is great again. Just hold on, we'll push back everything we took from you, and you'll be back at work in no time. And I'll skip it after the notification comes in. Here we go. We're back up. So similar as just shown, we have the integration between Workspace ONE Intelligence and Carbon Black. We monitor the status of the Carbon Black sensor on the endpoint. which triggers an automation in the event that it changes, and then the magic happens. We remove a tag, which mentioned that the device was healthy, we send out a notification, and we apply a tag which states that the device is unhealthy. That affects a smart group, which removes the applications, and it affects a smart group that actually pushes or initiates a freestyle orchestrated workflow, which ensures that Carbon Black is installed again. And with that, Johan, you're up again.
Am I mic'd up again? Yeah, awesome. Yep. Okay, so I got 10 minutes less, so let's go through the last section. So I want to focus on the developer. So like developers are complex use cases. They want all sorts of stuff, and for us as IT, it's I think the primary focus should be to offer them a great employee experience as well. Now, specifically to our use case developer, they push code for a living in .NET. They work with data that's privacy sensitive, already mentioned that. They're not allowed to store data on their local device, simply because of the type of data they work with. And they love to work from home. Now, in our case, the developer wanted to, basically because of the data they work with, the way they push their code, the resources they need, they normally used to use monster PCs to do that. Like they normally order such a monster PC to run their software on, to push their code on, to work, like to test stuff on, to compile code on. And like in the new world, that's challenging. Now, in the old world, when they wanted to have such a PC, they ordered one from IT, right? So they requested a new monster HPC machine from IT, and after half a day, the request is approved by their manager. A day later, the request is approved by the department head, and another 2 days later, IT claims they don't have that system in the IT catalog, so the request is canceled. Now, the employee requests IT to the IT catalog, or requests IT to find a suitable machine in their catalog. And 2 days later, the IT catalog is shared, and the employee goes through the options. Now, after half a day, options don't include a GPU, which the developer needs, so they request a new option into the catalog. 3 days later, IT suggests an option, and another half a day later, the dev approves the option, and the desktop is requested. Now, which is good, right? So finally, the request has been approved by all parties. Ordering starts. And half a day later, the desktop is actually ordered. Now, we all know that we have challenges ordering supply chain issues. So 35 days later, the desktop is actually being delivered. This is not a joke. This is actually what happened at that customer. So 35 days later, the desktop is there. 5 days later, the desktop is installed. So IT runs a custom Windows 10 setup to include drivers and tools and make sure that the thing works. Now, 2 days later, the developer picks up the machine and installs his own tools or her own tools. Now, a day later, finally the developer is able to work from the office. Awesome. And then the pandemic hits. So the developer requests to work from home. After a day, IT can help, but they need time to work on a solution because they don't have a solution fixed for them to use that. And 14 days later, the developer can work from home using some kind of crappy remote desktop experience. 5 minutes. Okay. Well, so after 10 weeks, we basically have shit. And I mentioned Mike earlier, but there is definitely a better way. So what I'm going to show in the first demo is to request a new desktop. So the employee signs into Workspace ONE, connects to a developer desktop, and magic will happen. We open up Workspace ONE, and what we do is request a new virtual desktop using, again, Jira Service Desk. I love that tool. So what the developer does, type in their name, their department, request a developer desktop, hit the create button, and a couple of tickets in Jira will be created with a couple of subtasks. And when we switch over, yeah, you can see that the tasks have been created. Now what happens next is automatically at the back end or at the background, entitlements will be refreshed. So the end user, Han at vehoyan.lab, will be assigned to a virtual desktop. And for the sake of this demo, I manually synced the entitlements in Workspace ONE to make sure that he can actually sign into the virtual desktop. And you can now see in the sync status that one user was assigned to a virtual desktop. One user was added, and that's Han, who is now entitled to the Workspace ONE managed desktop. The end user, Han, will start the Intelligent Hub, opens the dev desktop, more magic will happen. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, so we refresh the apps because he was now entitled to a new managed desktop. And it's a full clone, fully managed through Workspace ONE. So he launches the client. Through SSO, he will be automatically signed into the virtual desktop. And since it's new, never been touched before, he gets a provisioning UI from Windows saying, hi, you're here for the first time. Let's configure the machine. This might take several Microsoft minutes. Don't turn off the virtual machine. And when it's done, what Han does is starts the Intelligent Hub on the virtual desktop. There we go. It refreshes. He needs to sign in with his group ID. And within a couple of seconds, what we'll see is that he is signed in almost. Yeah, first time you need to add the password simply because there's no certificate pushed for authentication yet. But now we're welcomed into the digital workspace, and the tunnel and Carbon Black are already pre-installed into his virtual desktop before user log on. So we use staging to do that. During the staging process of the virtual desktop, all those tools are automatically provisioned already. Now, next demo, we're going to install DevTools. So open the Intelligent Hub, let magic happen, and show the secret sauce behind the magic. So this is the last demo I'll show today. And this is an awesome one. Who has seen this session at Explore? Okay, a couple of hands. Who has never seen it before? You're going to see something you never saw before either. So, Workspace ONE, UEM, you see a physical machine and a virtual machine. That virtual machine is automatically enrolled through staging into Workspace ONE. What you see here is Freestyle Orchestrator. So what happens is after the end user is signed in, Freestyle Orchestrator will be used to automatically install a couple of applications based on the fact that the virtual machine is tagged as a VDI, as a virtual desktop. So all of these developer applications will be automatically installed inside the virtual desktop. You can see that here, they're there. If we look at the list of apps being installed, these have all been installed based on the fact that it's a developer machine. Now what happens next is that we get a notification stating, or with a question from the microsurvey. So in this case, Han gets the question, what type of developer are you? He's a Python developer. He submits the question, and what now happens is that a tag will be placed on the virtual machine stating it's not just a developer machine, it's a Python developer machine. What's really awesome is you can automate the responses from the microsurvey. So that's what's happening now. The Python tools will be installed based on the fact that he answered a question. What type of developer are you? I'm a Python developer, and now Python tools will be installed. So we use the Q1 radio button that included the answer Python, add a tag to the device stating that he is a Python developer. A tag can be added in UEM using the advanced settings and adding tags which can be used for smart assignment groups. So there's a .NET Dev group there tag as well. So Python devs tag as well. Secure tag to automatically enforce compliancy. I created an assignment group based on the fact that the tag Python devs is selected. So if a machine has that tag, it's automatically assigned to that group. And now you can see at the right that it now suddenly has two tags, VDI and Python devs. Now, next thing that happens, yes, is that Freestyle Orchestrator will pick up the tag. So as soon, you can see to the right, as a machine is part of Python devs, in this case, Python 3.9 will automatically be deployed. If we refresh at the top right, you should be automatically able to see that Python will be installed without any end user interaction. So the only thing that the end user has to do, first of all, sign into the Intelligent Hub, answer the question that I'm a Python dev, and all magic basically happens. And at the end, you can see that Python has been installed. Okay, conclusion. Embarking on an anywhere workspace journey can be time consuming. And like Jesper mentioned, start with low-hanging fruit. Like pick the smaller things. VMware Tunnel, quite easily deployed. MTD, quite easily configured and deployed. Those are services that you can just add to your current digital workspace in a relatively easy manner. Work with use cases that will empower your business. Don't just do everything at once. That costs a lot of time, adds complexity to the platform. Just start with one use case at a time and migrate them one use case at a time. Low-hanging fruit, already talked about that, and it might help to consult a partner. There are a lot of partners here, so if you have challenges, just talk to them, and it will definitely speed up everything that's happening to your platform. So for now, thanks so much for attending this session. Enjoy the rest of the day, and hopefully a lot of you will win Legos.